morning. Certainly a tough day for your team at Maine on last Saturday, 35-14 loss. Just as you've gone back and looked at that game, just give me an impression on what happened.
Yeah, tough loss for us up on the road at Maine. We did some good things early as we were able to move the ball down the field, had a couple drives going, back-to-back drives and back-to-back stops defensively, but really only had 7 points to show for it. We struggled to sustain drives after that, and I think we started to press some on defense in the second half, which led to some explosives in the run game for them. But after reviewing the film, it was clear they outperformed us in all three phases. So I want to credit Coach Stevens and his staff and his team. They did a great job over the bye week preparing his team. They had some good wrinkles for us on both sides of the ball. Um, I was impressed by their quarterback, really. Carter Peavy, he saw the field well. He was poised in the pocket. He was able to find some matchups as well as get through his progression. So, real impressed with him. Maybe the best quarterback we've seen, like just overall this season. So, he's a really good player.
They were able to control the ball for 33 minutes in that game. You mentioned Carter, and they had some success also on the ground with Marshall. What you guys have played some quality competition over the last several weeks and really all season long. What beyond Carter, what else were they able to do to kind of keep you off stride?
So you mentioned it. It was a game of really limited possessions. In the first half, we really only had four possessions with the football, and we turned it over. We were unable to sustain drives. We gave up 5 sacks on the day, 2 turnovers on the day, and 5 sacks. And in a game where really there's only like 10 possessions, it makes it hard to score points that way. So,
Mhm.
they did a good job of getting us off the field on third down, a takeaway in the end zone against us, and then we have a short field and we fumble it with a short field. So it made it tough to sustain drives and get points on the board.
Yeah, Landon, 16 to 23 passing. So when you look at that number, you say, okay, that's pretty good percentage, but only 120 yards. He ran for 42. Did you kind of feel like the game plan was just to sort of take the big play away and just kind of contain him? And
Yeah, I think Maine did a good job with their plan. They controlled the line of scrimmage and defensively they did. And so we're a better team when we can control the line of scrimmage and when we get our backs downhill, running behind their pads. Um, Landon, sure, he's getting better from an efficiency standpoint as far as completion percentage. And, reminder, he's still a redshirt freshman. So,
mhm.
we get some freshman mistakes. He doesn't often make the same ones twice. So, he's growing. But they did a good job keeping the ball in front of them. They weren't going to give us the home run shots. The one time we did throw it, it was double coverage and it hurt. It was a pick in the end zone. So I thought they did a good job with that. They did a good job knocking the ball down. Up front on their defensive line, they're very disruptive. They don't like to stay blocked. That's one thing. Coach Stevens has those guys. They're playing hard. They don't want to stay blocked. They're getting off blocks and making plays.
One other thing, just in regarding Landon, since we talked last week, he was one of four CAA players is on the watch list for the Jerry Rice Award as the top freshman in FCS. Just talk about him receiving that honor.
Yeah, it's an awesome honor for Landon and for our offense, and because we've got a lot of guys, first year starters, some young guys playing, but real happy for Landon. The thing with Landon, he's very athletic. He's got a ton of arm talent. He can see the field well, especially for a freshman quarterback. So he's going to continue to get better and continue to improve. And really, the messaging to Landon is, hey, man, like you just need to be the quarterback. You don't need to go out and take over the game. That will happen naturally because he's so talented. Just got to go out and be the quarterback. And so, Doug's doing a good job trying to bring him along, give him a little bit more each week on his plate and continue to develop him.
We're here with Elon head coach Tony Trisciani. If you have a question for him this morning, just use the chat feature or raise your hand icon. we haven't talked a whole lot this season about your special teams, but when you're going in the year, you had an All-American punter and Jeff Yerk. He's delivered again, second nationally, he averaged 50, almost 52 yards last week on four punts. Just talk about the season he's been able to have for you.
Yeah, Jeff has been very consistent this year too, and each week he's right around that 50-yard mark. And when you've got a punter like that, he's going to get the ball down the field, and that means we need to cover it well, because there can be some space down there. But he's doing a good job. I mean, his punts they're long, but they are coverable. We gave up a big return this week. But it wasn't the punt. It wasn't like a line drive right at him. It was a good punt by Jeffrey, and we got to do a better job of covering it and knocking it down. But Jeff's been consistent, and he's got a big time leg. He's going to have some opportunities, hopefully, here to do that on Sunday. He'll be recognized this offseason, I'm sure, with some All-Star games and some All-American recognition. But he's just a great overall punter. So he can hit the big ball, but he's also dangerous once we get around midfield and pinning people inside the 20 as well. He's highly efficient there. He's also a great holder. Like he's not just a good holder, he's a very good holder and can get the ball down in our kicking game. So he's a real important piece to our special teams unit.
Question for you this morning from Bob. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, guys. Tony, you mentioned the turnovers on offense. Just wondering about defensively. You just haven't forced a whole lot, I don't think, the last couple of weeks. And how important would that be if you could kind of get something cranked up there to get you guys off the field a little bit?
No doubt, Bob, it is. And so we're -4 in the turnovers the last 3 games, our last 3 losses. So, and that's an area we've been strong at. We've been able to create them in the past. So we got one on the ground this week with a strip by Ish Atkins, and we were not able to get on it, So those things, they tend to come in bunches. So, we're going to continue to emphasize it, here in the off week and next week as we get ready for Rhode Island. But hopefully those turnovers start coming our way. We got to be better with the ball offensively and on special teams, and then get some of those breaks with getting the ball on the ground on defense.
Do you feel like you're still getting at least enough opportunities? You mentioned one here this last week, but at least enough opportunities to kind of get a couple of those breaks?
Yeah, so sometimes it's about being opportunistic, Bob, where you get some balls around your hands down the field in the secondary. We didn't drop any last week. They did a good job. Peavy did a good job, throwing the ball underneath our coverage and finding some windows and spaces and grass with some leverage. So we didn't have many opportunities. He wasn't throwing it up there for grabs. But when it is on the ground, we got to make sure we're getting on it defensively.
Tony, after week 9 now, you finally get the bye week. You guys have had a challenging schedule, not only in regards to the level of competition you've been playing, but also some of the travel. How much do you need this week?
Yeah, it's a big week for us right now. I'd love to go into it with a win, but we're going to come into it and learn and grow. So, we met with the players yesterday and put the main game behind us, and they'll get a little bit of time here. Today's our normal NCAA off day, but they'll have tomorrow as well. Get some rest, get away from the building a little bit, and reflect some. As we, as a staff, really take a deep dive into Elon here today, and we'll get on Rhode Island, later on in the week.
What's the biggest thing to kind of recapture some of the momentum that you had, say, a month ago?
Yeah, sustaining drives offensively is a big part. Defensively, we've gotten better from an explosive play standpoint and keeping the ball in front of us now. So I think we're going in the right direction there. Special teams cleaning up some of our coverage things. Those are some areas that we're definitely going to focus on. And defensively, just doubling back there, like just our block protection, our leverage, knowing where your help is. That's an area, that we need to be better in some of our leverage tackling and how we've been able to get people to the ground in space. So those are some things we'll focus on and look to get healthy.
All right, Tony, sounds good. Thank you very much for your time here this morning. Enjoy the bye week, and